Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Senior High School Math, General Mathematics for Grade 11. I am Teacher Agie, and today we will be learning a new topic in math. This is under Math of Investment, and it is called Simple Interest. But before that, I will give you a scenario. Jake's dad congratulates him for getting a good score in math. And Jake thanks his dad and, of course, asks for a gift in return. His dad willingly says yes and tells Jake that he will be getting 1,000 pesos. And of course, Jake was elated. And his dad then tells him, "Okay, son, I will give you two options. You either take your 1,000 pesos today or exactly after a year later." Now, which one would you think Jake prefer? And Jake says, "Of course today, Dad. I don't want to wait for another year." Now, why do you think Jake wanted the money today and not a year later, even though it's the same amount? It is simple. It's because he thinks he can spend the money this year. He can buy new clothes, or a new pants, or a new shoes with that money and enjoy himself this year. And who knows, his dad might even change his mind a year later. This is all you need to know to understand what interest is. A 1,000 pesos today is not 1,000 pesos a year later. Let us look at another scenario. Consider a bank. A bank is an institution which mainly allows us to make deposits and also give us loans. This is Jake. Says Jake deposit 100 pesos in a bank today, and then 1 year later, the bank gives him 108 pesos. Why do you think that the bank paid Jake more than how much he had deposited? It is simple. The bank used the 100 pesos for that 1 year. So to reward Jake, the bank pays him more than how much he deposited, which is 108 pesos. Now I think the concept is already clear. We just have to understand some terminologies. The 100 pesos here is called the principal. It is basically the initial amount. What Jake gets after a year comprises of two parts. One part is that he gets his 100 pesos back, which is the principal, and the 8 pesos that is left with him is called the interest. And the sum of the principal and the interest is called the amount. The amount is always equal to the sum of the principal and the interest. Now, Jake got an 8 pesos of his investment from 100 pesos. So that's 8 pesos interest. We can say that he got an 8% rate of interest. Assume that you have deposited 100 pesos in a bank at a rate of 10%. So there you go, 10% rate of interest. What does this exactly mean? We know that 10% of 100 is 10. So if you deposit 100 pesos in a bank, you will get 110 pesos at the end of the year. But what about on second year, third year, and so on? Let us try to make 4 columns here. Okay, we'll make one column for the year, the interest, and the total interest, and also the amount each year. Now always remember that the amount is equal to the sum of the principal and the interest. Now the principal in this case will be the deposited amount, which is 100 pesos. Now let us see what will happen in year 1. And because you got 10% interest from the bank, you will get 10 pesos as interest. Now, what happens if you keep the money in the bank for another year? For year 2, you will get another 10 pesos as an interest. And if you keep the 100 pesos for one more year, you will get another 10 pesos as an interest. So this is simple interest. If you keep your money deposited with the bank, you will get the same interest every year. Let us look at it this way. Now your principal, which is 100 pesos, will remain in the bank until you withdraw it. Now at the end of first year, the bank pays you 10% interest in this 100 peso principal, and that is 10 pesos. Now this 10 pesos will accrue in the bank until you decide to withdraw it. And at the end of second year, the bank pays you another 10 pesos as an interest of 10% on 100 pesos principal. And this will accrue until you withdraw it. And 10 pesos will accrue again at the end of third year, and every year you will get an interest on the principal that you have invested. Alright, now let us look at the total interest column. If you would have taken the money out from the first year, you would have got an interest of 10 pesos, and the amount you would receive will be 110 pesos. Remember that the amount is the sum of your principal and the interest. And if you would have taken the money out from the second year, you would have got an interest of 10 pesos plus 10 pesos from the previous year, and the amount would be equal to 20. So the total interest would be equal to 20, and the amount that you will get will be 120 pesos. And if you would have taken the money out from third year, you would have got an interest of 10 pesos plus 10 pesos on the first year plus another 10 pesos on the second year, which would give you total interest of 30 pesos, and that amount would equal to 130 pesos at the end of third year. So what are the factors that the amount is dependent on? Number one, we can say that it will depend on the principal or the initial deposit. This means that more money you will deposit, more money in the final amount. Number two, we can say that it will also depend on the rate of interest. If instead of 10%, the bank offered you 15%, the amount you will receive will also be higher, right? Okay. Number three, it depends also in the number of years that you deposit your money. Now, if any of these factors will change, then the amount that you will receive will also change. This concept we just saw is what we call simple interest. The interest of the amount is based on the principal only. And also notice that the total interest after the second year is twice as the interest of the first year. And the interest after the third year is 3 times the interest after the first year. Let us try to look at year 2. Now let's look at the principal, which is 100 pesos. Since the interest is 10%, we multiply the principal by 10 of 100, which will give us this equation, which will give us this. And since it is in the second year, we multiply it by 2, which will give us this. Now this quantity will give us the interest in the first year. Multiplying it by 2 will give us the interest after 2 years. If we will solve this one, this will give us 20. And similarly for year 3, we will multiply this quantity by 3, and if we will solve this one, this will give us 30. Now based from this concept, we can now make a formula for simple interest. Okay, we have observed that solving the interest, we multiply the principal to the rate of interest to its term, right? So this is not the formula for our simple interest, where I here is the interest, P is the principal, R is the rate of interest, and T is the term usually expressed in years. Okay, again, the formula for our simple interest is given as I is equal to P times R times T. Okay, let us try to apply the concept of simple interest in solving some real-life problems from your self-learning modules. So let's try example number 1. This is in page 8 of module 2. The problem states a bank offers 0.25% annual simple interest rate for a particular deposit. How much interest will be earned if 1 million pesos is deposited in this savings account for 1 year? Okay, so first thing that we need to do in problem solving is that we need to identify what are the given in the problem. So can we identify what is the principal? The principal, as we have previously discussed, is yes, the initial amount. So the initial amount here is 1 million pesos. Can we identify the rate of interest? Yes, the interest or the rate of interest is 0.25%. And how about the term? Term is usually expressed in years. So in the problem, it states 1 year. So the term here is 1 year. And what is the unknown? The unknown is interest, because the problem says how much interest will be earned if 1 million pesos is deposited in the savings account for 1 year. So how are we going to solve the problem? Now, since we already know the formula for simple interest, and we also have identified the given from the problem, so all we have to do is to substitute the value that we have identified from the problem to the given formula. So we know that interest is equal to the principal times the rate of interest times the time. Now, identifying the given from the problem, we know that the principal amount is 1,000, so we just have to 1 million, so we just have to substitute 1 million here in P. Now the rate of interest is 0.25%. Since this is expressed in percent form, we will convert this one into decimal by dividing 0.25 by 100 and multiply it by T, the value of T, which is 1, because in the problem it says 1 year. The term is 1 year. Okay. Now 1 million times, if we simplify 0.25 of 100 will give us 0.0025, multiplying it by 1. And our interest is equal to 2,500. So therefore, the interest earned after depositing 1 million pesos in the bank account offering 0.25% per year earns 2,500 pesos after 1 year. Alright, let us try to solve example number 2. This is page 8 of your module 2. Now the problem goes like this. How much interest is charged when 50,000 pesos is borrowed for 9 months at an annual interest rate of 10%? So again, we need to identify what are the given. Can you identify the principal? Yes, the principal is 50,000 pesos. The rate of interest is given as 10%. The term, 9 months. And the amount, the unknown here is still the interest, the I or the interest. Now take note that when the term is expressed in months, it should be converted in years. So the formula is given as T is equal to M divided by 12. Okay, so we will use the same formula since we are still computing or solving for the interest earned. So I is equal to PRT. Again, P is for principal, R is for the rate of interest, and T is for the term. So from the given problem, we already have identified that our principal is 50,000 pesos. Multiply it by 10 of 100 because 10% 10 is expressed in percent form, so we have to convert this one in decimal by dividing 10 by 100. And then, since our term is expressed in months, we have to convert this one into year, so we have to divide 9 by 12. That is according to the formula that we have presented in the previous slide. So simplifying 10 of 100 will give us 0.10, and then simplifying 9 over 12 will give us 0.75. So we can now multiply 50,000 to 0.10 times 0.75 will give us 3,750. So the interest earned is 3,750. Okay, let us try to work on example number 3. This is located in page 9 of module number 2. So let us complete the table below by finding the unknown. Okay, as you can see in the table, in the first column we have the principal values. Second column we have the rate of interest or R. Row number 3 we have the term or T. This is expressed in years. And that fourth column we have I or the interest. So what we will be solving for column 1, for letter A we will be solving for the principal. Letter B, solving for the rate of interest. Letter C, solving for the term in years. And of course, letter D, we will be solving for the interest. Alright, now let us try to solve the first row. Now these are the given from the table. We know that our principal is unknown. The rate of interest is given as 2.5%. The term in years is given as 4, so this is basically 4 years. And the interest given as 1,500. Now since we are still solving for the simple interest, we will be using the same formula. The formula I is equal to P times R times T. Okay, so we just have to substitute the values that we have here from the table in the given formula. So we know that our interest is 1,500, so you just have to write 1,500. Our principal is unknown, so just leave the P multiplied by 2.5%, which is the rate of interest. Now, since 2.5 is expressed in decimal, I mean in percent form, we need to change it or convert this one to decimal by dividing 2.5 by 100 and then multiply it by 4, which is the term in years. Alright, now simplifying this quantity will give you 0.025 times 4 and times P, which is the principal and the unknown. So simplifying 0.025 times 4 will give you 0.1. Multiplied by P will give you 0.1 P. Okay, now isolating P in the right side, we have to divide both sides by 0.1. So 0.1 in the right side will be cancelled, and then 1,500 divided by 0.1 will give you 15,000. So therefore, the principal amount needed for you to get an interest of 1,500 pesos in 4 years with 2.5% rate of interest is 15,000. All right, let us solve the second row. So the second row is asking for the rate of interest. So these are the given. The principal amount is 36,000 pesos. The term in years is 1.5, and the interest given is 4,860. So we will be using the same formula. I is equal to P times R times T. And then again, all we have to do is just to substitute the given value from the table in this simple interest formula. So we know that our interest, or I, is 4,860. Our principal is given as 36,000. Our rate of interest is unknown, so you just have to leave the variable R there, or write the variable R, multiplying it with 1.5 as the term in years. Okay, so simplifying this 36,000 times 1.5, or 36,000 R times 1.5 will give you 54,000 R. Okay, again, we need to isolate the R in the right side so we can solve for its value. We need to divide both sides by 54,000. So 54,000 cannot be cancelled. What is left on the right side is R. So 4,860 divided by 54,000 will give you 0.089 or 8.9%. So, okay, so for 36,000 pesos, for the 36,000 pesos to get an interest of 4,860 in 1.5 years, or in 1.5 years, you need to have 8.9 rates of interest. All right, let us solve the third row now. Okay, now this is the given. So in row number 3, or third row, we are asked to solve for the term in years, or simply the T. So the principal given is 250,000. Rate of interest is 0.5%. The term, or the T, is unknown, and the interest is 275. So we will be using the same formula, which is I is equal to P times R times T. Okay, and then we just have to substitute the value that we have from this table. So we know that our simple interest is 275, shows here, and our principal is 250,000. That is 250,000. Our rate of interest is 0.5%. So that's 0.5. Now, since this is expressed in percent form, in order for this 0.5% to be in decimal, we'll have to divide 0.5 by 100 and then multiply by t, which is the unknown, the t given in years. Okay, now simplifying 0.5 divided by 100 will give you 0.005, and then multiply it by t, which is the term, the unknown. So multiply or simplifying this one, 250,000 times 0.005 will give you 1,250 multiplied by t. Okay, so we have to isolate t here in this side so we can solve for its value. All we have to do is to divide both sides by 1,250, and from here we can cancel 1,250. What is left from this side is just the variable t. So t now is equal to 0.22 years. So 0.22 years is approximately about 2 months and 20 days. So therefore, the time of getting an interest of 275 is approximately about 2 months and 20 days. Alright, let's solve the fourth row, the last row. So these are the given. Now in the fourth row, the unknown is the interest, or the I. Okay, and the given, the principal is 500,000. The rate of interest given is 12.5%. The term is 10 years. Okay, so all we need to do is to use the same formula for simple interest, which is I is equal to P times R times T. So we just have to substitute the value. We know that our I is a known, so leave the variable I there. The principal is 500,000 multiplied by 12.5%, which is the rate of interest. And again, since this is expressed in percent form, we need to convert this one into decimal by dividing 12.5 by 100 and then multiply it by 10. Okay, simplifying this quantity will give you 0.125 and then times the term, which is 10. Now simplifying this or multiplying 500,000 by 0.125 and then times 10 will give you 625,000. So therefore, the total interest for the principal amount of 500,000 within 10 years with 12.5% rate of interest is 625,000 pesos. Alright, let's work on example number 4. This is located in page 10 of module number 2. Okay, this is the problem. Now, when invested at an annual interest rate of 7%, the amount earned is 11,200 pesos of simple interest in 2 years. How much money was originally invested? Okay, so since this is a problem given, we have to identify what are the given value for each of the following: principal, rate of interest, the term, and of course the interest. Okay, so can we identify the principal? Okay, the principal is a known. Of course, it states here how much money was originally invested. So this one talks about the initial amount. Can we identify the rate of interest? Okay. The rate of interest is usually expressed in percent form. So we can only see one here, which is 7%. So the rate of interest is 7%. Now, how about the term? The term is usually expressed in years. Okay, so what we have here is 2 years. So the interest is the amount earned, which is equivalent to 11,200. Okay, now how are we going to solve this one? We will be using the same formula for simple interest. I is equal to P times R times T. So we already have identified that our interest is 11,200. So you just have to substitute 11,200 for I. And then our principal is unknown. So leave the variable P there, multiplied by 7 over 100, because the interest rate is given as 7%. And then multiply the term, which is 2 years. Now simplifying this quantity here, 7 over 100, will give you 0.07 multiplied by 2 for the term, and then multiplying this will give you 0.14p. So from here, in order for us to solve for the value of our p, we need to isolate the p in the right side by dividing both sides with 0.14. So we can cancel 0.14, and then 11,200 divided by 0.14 will give us 80,000 pesos. So therefore, the amount that needs to be invested is 80,000 pesos. Okay, now let's talk about maturity value or the future value. In the previous slides, when we are discussing about the concept of simple interest, we call this one as an amount. So we know that amount is equal to principal plus the interest, right? So here, we will define amount as the future value, or F. So we will formally define this one as F, or the maturity value, or the future value. And this is also equal to the principal plus the interest. So it's the same thing. So like I have mentioned in the previous discussion, when we are still discussing about the concept of simple interest, we call this one an amount. But then now, we will formally call it as future value or maturity value. Okay, where F here is the maturity value or the future value, our P is the principal, I is the interest. In this case, it's the simple interest. Okay, we know that the variable I here refers to the interest, right? And we know that I, as what we have previously discussed, can be solved by multiplying the principal, the rate of interest, and the time. So therefore, I here is equal to P times R times T. Now, if we will if we will substitute the value of I in this equation, we will get this new equation. F is equal to P plus P times R times T. So using a simple algebra, we can factor out our variable P here. So factoring P will give us P times 1 plus R times T. So this is now the derived formula in solving the maturity value or the future value of a simple interest. Okay, so our F here is the maturity or the future value. Our P is the principal. R is the rate of interest. and T is the term or time in years. Okay, let us work on example number 7 of your module 2. This is located in page 12. So let's try to solve this problem. Find the maturity value if 1 million pesos is deposited in a bank at an annual simple interest rate of 0.25% after 1 year, B after 5 years. Okay, now let us identify what are the given values in this problem. Can we identify what is our principal? Oh yes, our principal is 1 million pesos. How about the rate of interest? Okay, very good. The rate of interest is 0.25%. The term? Okay. The problem asks for 2 terms. We have 1 year, the other one after 5 years. How about the interest? Okay. The interest here is a noun. It's not stated in the problem, and also the future value is a noun. Alright, now let's try to solve letter A, finding the maturity or the future value of F after 1 year. Now take note that there are 2 ways to solve the problem. Method 1, we have to solve the simple interest first and then add it to the principal. So, or just like what we have or what we did in solving or finding the amount. So it's the first formal definition of the amount, which in the previous slides that we have discussed, F is equal to I plus P. Okay, so this is method 1. First, we need to solve the interest first and then add it to the principal. So the sum of the interest and the principal will be the future value. Now the second method is using the formula that we have derived. F is equal to P times 1 plus R times T. So again, there are 2 methods. Number 1, finding or solving the interest first and then adding it to the principal. The second method is using the derived formula F is equal to P times the quantity of 1 plus R times T. Okay. Alright, now let us try to solve for the future value after 1 year using method 1. Okay, now in method 1, we know we will be solving first the interest and then add the interest to the principal. Okay, so how do we solve for the interest? We will be using the same formula for simple interest. I is equal to P times R times T. Okay, we know that our principal is 1 million pesos. Our rate of interest is 0.25%. So since this is in percent form, so to convert this one into decimal, we have to divide it by 100 and then multiplying it by 1 because we are asked to solve for the interest after 1 year. So multiplying 1 million by 0.25 times 1 will give us 2,500. So the interest after 1 year is 2,500. Now to solve for the future value, we need to add this 2,500 to the principal, right? So solving for the future value, F is equal to the principal plus the interest. Now the principal is 1 million pesos plus the interest of 2,500. Therefore, we'll have an interest of 1,02,500 pesos. So this is now our, this is now the future value of the 1 million pesos after 1 year with a simple interest of 0.25%. Alright, now let us try to solve letter B, finding the future value after 5 years. So we will use method 1 first. So in method 1, again, we will solve for the interest, and once we have the value of our interest, we will add this one to the principal. So we will use the simple formula I is equal to P times R times T, and then substitute the values. Our P is 1 million, multiply it by 0.25 of 100. This is to convert the 0.25% to decimal. Multiply it by 5 because we are asked to solve for the interest after 5 years. So simplifying this quantity will give you 0.0125, and then multiply it by 1 million will give you 12,500. So this is now our interest. To find for our future value, again we will add the principal plus the interest. So our principal is 1 million plus 12,500, which is the interest, will give you 1,012,500. So this is now the future value. Okay, now let's have a quick recap for the topic that we have discussed and what we have learned for today. Now first, we talk about simple interest. So we already know the concept of simple interest, right? So now, how do we find the value of simple interest? So it's simply getting the product of the principal, the rate, and the time. And we express this one in the formula I is equal to P times R times T. Now, how about finding the future value or the maturity value? So remember that we have shown two methods in solving for the future value or F. Number one, we have to solve for the interest first and then add the value of the interest to the principal so we can get the future or maturity value. Second method is using the formula that we have derived to directly solve the future value or F. So the formula is given as F is equal to P times 1 plus R times T. So our R here is the rate of interest, usually expressed in percent form. And then our T here is the term or time, usually expressed in years. Alright, so that's it for today. And again, my name is Agie Galvez. And thank you for watching. Have a nice day.